A fantasy world is not all make-believe. The magic of fantasy comes from the different depictions of real-life society. In her manga and Netflix anime, Delicious in the Dungeon, Ryoko Kui depicts a world centered around a dungeon that functions similar to a real-life society. The dungeon is a place where monsters and adventurers depend on one another to thrive. The characters and places in Delicious in the Dungeon reflect the ideas of Emil Durkheim and his functionalist theory. The high fantasy series is focused around a party made up of 4 adventurers: Laios, Marcel, Chilchuk, and Senshi. They each have different roles within the party, which are knight, mage, locksmith, and chef respectively. The titular dungeon contains a kingdom who is taken by a powerful magician at the end. Anyone who defeats him is made ruler of the dungeon. The dungeon contains many special properties as a result of the magician. This includes floors of monsters roaming the dungeon, and immortality upon anyone who enters as long as the body remains. The promise of ruling the dungeon draws in many adventurers into the dungeon. However, it is not the main motivation for the party. Within the dungeon lies a dragon who has eaten Laios' sister. The party has to race to defeat the dragon before her body is fully digested and she cannot be revived. However, the party is too poor to afford the proper resources needed to traverse the dungeon, especially food. They must rely on eating the monsters within the dungeon to survive, which is highly looked down upon. Within doing so, the party uncovers the secret mechanisms in which the dungeon survives. These mechanisms are similar to the patterns noted by Durkheim in his fundamentalist theory. Born in 1858, Emile Durkheim was a prominent French socialist whose focus was on the effects of modern capitalism on the human mind. He witnessed the transformation of France from a farm-based country to a growing industrial country. The catalyst of this transformation was the introduction of capitalism.
Tell them to bring me my money. Yeah!
An economic system which privatized the means of production centered around a free market. With this change, many people enjoyed brand new luxuries. However, there was an increase of suicide rates, which Durkheim observed and published a book about. Durkheim continued to observe the harmful effects of capitalism on human happiness. He felt society as a whole felt more divided under capitalism as there was a decreased emphasis on community. Durkheim noted the essential roles of a functioning society. Based on Durkheim's ideas, functionalist theory examines the necessary structures that keep society in balance. Functionalist theory states that society is made up of institutions that fulfill the needs of society, such as schools and hospitals. Society is also made up of social facts, which are the ways society thinks, such as laws and religion. Institutions and social facts have both intended and unintended results known as manifest and latent functions, respectively. In a growing society, individuals depend on one another to fulfill the needs of others. The different roles individuals take on to fulfill these needs is the same as the roles depicted in Delicious in the Dungeon. The observations made in Durkheim's functionalist theory are depicted in Delicious in the Dungeon through the titular dungeon and the characters. In the show, Marcel inquires about the dungeon's ecosystem. She notes that it is a self-sustaining cycle that includes monsters and adventurers fulfilling certain roles. Monsters live within the dungeon, but it is a delicate system that is susceptible to imbalance. Factors such as powerful monsters, overeating weak prey, and overharvesting of plants by prey are a problem depicted within the show. These factors are mitigated with the introduction of adventurers hired by the town. These adventurers are also drawn into the dungeon with the promise of ruling the dungeon. The adventurers, such as the party, keep the dungeon monster level in check, as said by Marcel. This cycle is an intended result made by the dungeon to sustain itself. The dungeon and the town act like one society together, each acting as an institution. These institutions vary in their laws and individuals, which are social facts. This symbiotic relationship between the dungeon and town is an intended result, a manifest function, by the dungeon to keep its monster levels in balance. However, the dungeon also has a latent function of providing the party with food. An uncommon practice, the party uses the resources provided by the dungeon to eat. This latent function is the whole premise of the show. In most fantasy stories, it is common that monsters only serve to be slain by adventurers. However, as seen in the show, the dungeon, the town, and the adventurers benefit each other. Each fulfills a role that they are unable to fulfill without each other, just as noted by Durkheim in his functionalist theory. Delicious and Dungeon's depiction of a dungeon similar to our own society makes for a more captivating story that other high fantasy shows can learn from. Upon initial looks, this seems absurd, as it is uncommon to eat monsters. Despite being fantasy, this show captures a realism that is not felt on other shows. The complexity depicted makes for a media that urges the viewer to think more about the purpose each individual has. Monsters in shows may serve more of a function than just to be slain. They could also be a tasty meal. Hi, it's me. This was kind of a silly video. I originally wrote this as an essay for an online sociology class, and I thought the idea would be a little bit silly just to write about. I just had to write about, you know, functionalist theory or something like that. You get it. By the way, I got full points. Professor liked it. You know, she's very nice about it. I'm pretty sure she never saw the anime, which makes it more ridiculous. So, don't take it too seriously. Take it more like a game theory, I guess, in its silliness level. It was just something fun to talk about. I just really like the show, as you could tell. Well, I don't know if you could tell. Actually, this part is for me to tell you how much I like the show because it's a really good show. It's on Netflix, so, you know, it's really accessible. Really accessible. Yeah, you could tell I didn't script this part. I usually script my things because I'm super nervous on camera, so, you know. But, oh god, I'm running out of words to say. Just watch the show. It's really nice. It's really fun. You know, by the time this uploads, the finale should be coming up or has premiered. Either of the two. So, you know, it's a really fun show. Recommend it for the entire family because it's really fun. It's just, you know, the premise of them slaying monsters and eating delicious food, because you know how food in anime always looks good. So if you like that, this show is just that, you know? You know, it's made by Studio Trigger, which is, you know this, you know that. Focus. I'm a really bad speaker, so my contact just like I don't know how much of this I'm gonna leave unedited. Anyways, enough of me rambling. This anime is really good, made by Studio Trigger. It's a really fun anime. But you know how Studio Trigger is, they can get pretty, you know, horned up sometimes. It does have some parts to it. But I mean, you know, it's fun for the whole family still. Watch delicious anime food and enjoy the characters because they're really fun and like full of life with each other. They really like, I don't know how much to express how much I like this show. I mean, I'm thinking of reading the manga afterwards. You know, I really don't tend to read the manga. Although, you know, manga is like usually better, but I don't know. I just love anime. I'm not a good talker. I am not a good talker, and I'm so nervous on camera. I'm gonna try to leave this as unedited as possible. This as practice. Practice. Me talking to you. So yeah, watch the anime. Thanks for watching. What else could I say? I don't know. This took forever to set up. It took so long to set up. I'm trying to make videos more and more, so excuse how lazy this video may be, I guess. I'm trying. I guess it's a good cue to end it right now. Watch the show. Oh, I forgot to mention. I know that the manga has a character which is like a cat and it's called like Kibi or something, which is like a motivation to like read the manga, I guess. So I don't know if if you like cat characters, I guess that's a thing. But let me talk more about the show actually. No. I'm still keeping you here. I'm going to talk about the show more and more. Oh, ow. Anyways, one thing about the show that I really wanted to see happen was them making pizza. And for the longest time, I was like, when are we gonna make pizza? This is the episode they're gonna make pizza. And you know, major spoiler alert, major spoiler, it'll ruin the show for you. They do make pizza. It's really cool. So yeah, it's just like a little side thing, not really a spoiler alert. But they do make pizza, so you know, it's really creative, the dishes they make on the show. And I'm not gonna spoil anything more about it. Just watch the show. I cannot express enough to watch the show. Watch the show this, watch the show that, watch the show this. I don't know who I'm talking to. I'm still talking to the void right now. So, you know, I don't know, maybe do me a favor and like stick around, I guess, because I could really use some motivation. I got big plans coming up, so hopefully you could be there when it drops. Or it's just me and the void, forever and ever. Just you, me, you being the void, and me sitting here. Oh yeah, thanks for watching. Bye now.